وكذلك أوحينا إليك روحا من أمرنا ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان ولكن جعلناه نورا نهدي به من نشاء من عبادنا وإنك لتهدي إلى صراط مستقيم صراط الله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ألا إلى الله تصير الأمور.
Remember, just remember, Allah sees it all.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam wa rasulillah. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on the last messenger of Allah. I'd like to welcome you again, dear viewers, to our series in the names of Allah. And in this series, we have been looking at the names of Allah as they should be reflected in human life, how human beings should relate to Allah through His names, through worshipping Him. And we have been looking at, in particular, the greatest name of Allah, which is none other than Allah itself. We ended the previous segment looking at one of the prescriptions which the Prophet ﷺ gave for dealing with spiritual attack, demonic attack, where a human being becomes overpowered by forces from the world of the jinn. We said that some people deny this, that this is something made up. These are fairy tales, stories. Well, it is true that there's a lot of fairy tales in the Muslim world about this, as in the Christian world and the other worlds. People have a lot of stories about this. But there is an element of truth to it. Not necessarily to the stories that are being told, but to the concept itself, that some people may be possessed. And the incident we mentioned, which was narrated by Ya'la ibn Marra, where a woman gave her boy to the Prophet ﷺ, and he sat the boy in front of him. The boy was seen to be overcome with fits. He was falling down and, going into a state. Maybe we associate this with epilepsy, something similar, etc. But, there didn't seem to be any treatment for it. They gave the boy to the Prophet ﷺ, and he opened the boy's mouth, and he blew in the boy's mouth thrice, 3 times he blew in his mouth. Then he called out to a being that was inside of the boy. He started by saying, Bismillah, Ana Abdullah. In the name of Allah, I am a servant of Allah. Ikhsa, Adu Allah. Get out, O enemy of Allah. Now, this hadith, which you said is authentically reported in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed, this hadith is clear proof that possession has a reality. If it were not the case, then we would have to say that the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, was engaging in strange activity which has no meaning. That's what we have to say. But we know that he was as-Sadiq al-Amin. He was truthful in whatever he did, and he was trustworthy. He was not going to play with us, play with our minds, etc. He, in doing this, left a methodology for us to deal with cases of real possession. As I said, there are many times when people claim to be possessed, or people think that other people are possessed, and it's not possession at all. And we should try to treat some of these cases, the cases where it's we're not sure, whatever, we try to treat it with what is available from the medical profession. We should not go to the state that a lot of ignorant people have reached, where every little thing that happens we say it's the jinn. so-and-so is possessed by the jinn, my children are possessed by the jinn. Some people get involved in beating the kids and doing things that, to the point where some of the children and people, young women, etc., have been killed from beatings, And this was not the way of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't take this boy and beat the boy. He opened his mouth, blew in it thrice, saying, "In the name of Allah, I am a servant of Allah. Get out, O enemy of Allah." This is the primary method that the Prophet ﷺ practiced. And this is what we should do where we find a similar circumstance. There's another narration which is from Abu Malih's father, in which he related that the Prophet ﷺ had instructed that where a person finds an evil presence, where they can feel some kind of resident evil around himself or herself in a home or whatever, that rather than cursing Satan, right, he said, rather than saying ta'isa shaitan, that is, Satan is wretched, he said to say instead Bismillah. Because when one says ta'isa shaitan, what happens is that Satan, or the satanic force in the home, becomes great, becomes bigger, and we tend to make it something really great in our sight, or in our eyes, in our feelings, till the point, as the Prophet ﷺ had said, that it takes over the house as a whole. Instead, say Bismillah, and it will reduce that presence till it becomes, as he said, like a fly. And this hadith is also found in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. It's an authentic hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. And in the case where people are suffering from various actually physical ailments, oneself or others, he prescribed, not assuming that it is necessarily from the jinn or anything, but the fact that the forces, spiritual, demonic, evil forces could be involved, he prescribed that we place our hand at the point where we feel the pain. And we say Bismillah 3 times. Then 7 times we say A'udhu billahi wa qudrati min sharri ma ajidu wa uhadir. That is, I seek refuge in Allah and His power from the evil that I find and from the evil that I fear. So here he prescribed again the use of the Basmala. To say that Basmala 3 times. Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah. And that is for physical ailments where we feel pain in our bodies, or our relatives, our wives, children, whatever. There's a pain there. To utilize this. Prophet ﷺ taught it to us. He didn't teach it to be ignored. He taught it as a means of treating illnesses. Not to say that, we don't use whatever other medicines are there. As the Prophet ﷺ had said, that Allah did not send down in His creation any disease without also giving its cure. So the cure is there. We can find it. We can seek it. But sometimes these afflictions are not just of a physical nature. They are coming from the world of the jinn. So we take our precaution. We use the medical means, and at the same time we use the spiritual medicine which the Prophet ﷺ gave us. As I mentioned before, the case of the possession, where the boy was treated by the Prophet ﷺ. There was another case of a woman who used to clean the masjid. And she came and complained to the Prophet ﷺ that she would be seized by fits from time to time, and she would fall down, and in falling down it would expose her garments. Her garments would expose part of her aura. So she asked the Prophet ﷺ to pray for her to have Allah remove it from her. So the Prophet ﷺ told her that he could pray and have it removed, or she could be patient and Allah would reward her with paradise. She asked the Prophet ﷺ to pray that at least if she fell down in the fits, her awra wouldn't be exposed. So he prayed for her for that. But why is it that on this occasion, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ didn't do what he did for the child? He didn't open her mouth, blow in it 3 times, and say, addressing something inside of her. Why didn't he do that? Scholars looking at it, like Ibn al-Qayyim and others, pointed out that this was a case where the cause was physical. This wasn't a case of possession. So where the cause is physical, then obviously that methodology is not appropriate. So the Prophet ﷺ told her to be patient with it. Had it been one of demonic possession, then the Prophet ﷺ would have done as he did, right? Or used some other method, recited something else over her, but he didn't. So that is indicative of the fact that some of these ailments are from, or many of the ailments, in fact, are from real, physical, natural causes. And so we should use whatever means we have otherwise. The Prophet ﷺ also gave us the use of the Basmala for treating another phenomenon, that of the evil eye. Something, again, which in the Muslim world, maybe people have gone to extremes. People have amulets that they wear, to protect them from the evil eye. And these are sold, and people wear them around their necks, their arms, and etc. Well, this is not what the Prophet ﷺ told us to do to deal with it. What he did is he gave us a series of supplications to make. One of them is Bismillah yubrik, min kulli da'in yashfik, wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad, wa sharri kulli dhi ayn. In the name of Allah, may He make you well, and may He cure you from every ill. From the evil of the jealous when they are envious, and from the harm of the evil eye. This was the dua which the Prophet ﷺ gave. Again, beginning with the Basmala. And he did say on another occasion, Al-Ainu Haqq, that the evil eye has a reality. Scholars have pointed out that it functions through the agency of the jinn, but it has a reality. On one hand, we know this is the case. Prophet ﷺ gave us a formula to deal with it. But on the other hand, we don't go overboard to say that everything that happens to us, this is evil eye. We're looking at people suspiciously. We can't, trust people around us. We assume that everything is, people are looking at this way and that way, and we have to worry about. No, we don't go into that state. That's going overboard. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave us very simple instructions, supplications that we use to protect ourselves. So we should try to use them. With that, dear viewers, we're going to take a break, and we'll be coming back after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When you are weak and the road seems long, just remember, seek strength from the strong.
And if you look into the early tafsir, early exegesis of the Quran, you will find that all the Mufassirin were trying to find out where are the 7 earths. Earthquakes, natural or artificial, can delineate the boundaries between 7 different zones within the earth. The conclusion that we have 7 different layers within the earth came to notice only the 20th century. The true believer would prostrate down in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The blessings of that prostration will reach the 7th earth.
Just remember, seek strength from the strong.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah. I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, back from the break, where we were looking prior to the break at some of the spiritual formula which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave us to deal with spiritual ailments. Spiritual ailments as well as even physical ailments. We said before the break that although on one hand we shouldn't go overboard in attributing everything that goes wrong around us, whether physically, harm to ourselves, to our children, family, as well as harm to our circumstance, we don't want to attribute each and everything to the world of the jinn, but at the same time we don't go to the other extreme of denying the world of the jinn, that world does affect us, that it can in some cases even lead to the level of possession. So Prophet ﷺ gave us, as we said earlier, various formula by which we use to cover both ends of the spectrum. He told us, we mentioned a previous dua, Bismillahi yubrik, but there's another dua in which he said, Bismillahi arqiq, min kulli shay'in yu'dhik, min sharri kulli nafsin aw aynin hasidin, Allahu yashfik, Bismillahi arqiq. In the name of Allah, I exorcise you from everything which harms you, from the evil of every soul or jealous eye. May Allah cure you. In the name of Allah, I exorcise you. So this Prophet ﷺ gave, and this is what we should use. Not resorting to beating, as we have cases in different parts of the Muslim world where people have been diagnosed as being possessed, and then the people around them, with the aid of certain individuals who they feel to be of some special spiritual status, beating these people, beating them to the point where they've died. There are cases that have happened here in Egypt, they've happened in the UK, they've happened in India, in different parts of the Muslim world. It has happened. They're not that often, but still, even one case is not acceptable, because this was not the way of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Al-Muslim man salim al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadi. The true Muslim is one from whose tongue and his hands the Muslims are safe. So when people are involved in this kind of treatment by beating people, claiming to drive away the possessing spirit, but really the person comes out all sore with bruises all over their bodies, sometimes even dying from it, we have to say there's something wrong here. This was not the way of the Prophet ﷺ, nor was it the way of his companions. We don't have any cases recorded that they did these things. So we have to be wary. Even if somebody says, well, Shaykh so-and-so, Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, he beat somebody with a shoe. Well, the point is, did Prophet ﷺ do it? Did his companions do it? We don't have any evidence for it. Then it doesn't matter which Shaykh, Fulan or Allan did it. It doesn't matter, because we are obliged to follow the way of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And this area of treatment is not like pharmacy, where a doctor may try a variety of different medicines on you to see which works. And the one which works, then he prescribes. You experiment. It's like a hit and miss situation. No, this area is not like that. That people can now bring in and introduce, whatever they feel they'd like to try out. They've heard it work somewhere and help somebody, so we're going to try it out. No, it is not. This is not the same as physical medicine, where you have experiment. You experiment with various medicines. How do we know that they work? They try it out on a group of people. And if the majority of people seem to benefit from it, they say, okay, this is a medicine which works. And at the same time, they use this medicine with some people who they will tell them that it's medicine, but it's not actually the medicine. They give them sugar pills instead. And if they find that people are just as much cured from the sugar pills as they are being told that it was the medicine, as they are being cured with the medicine, they say, well, this medicine doesn't really work. That's how medicine functions, trial and error in this regard. But when it comes to spiritual formula, treating people, exorcism, this is entering into the world of the unseen. And we don't have the right to make up things, experiment with people with these things. What we have is what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ left for us. And this is what we should use. He has taught us a way, and Allah said and described him as uswatun hasana, the best of examples. That's what we should be following. So, dear viewers, I warn you. It's my warning to you to be careful of this, because many people in the Muslim world, unfortunately, have been caught up in many practices which have nothing to do with Islam at all. We have a way. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ left it for us to follow. So it is our duty to seek out the information which he gave and to apply this information in our lives. Bismillahi arqiq. Use this. This is what the Prophet ﷺ gave. He also gave us advice when we go out of our homes and when we come into our homes, to use, again, the basmala, as well as using Allahumma, calling on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said when we leave the home that we should say, and if a person does this, he says, Bismillahi tawakkaltu ala Allahi, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. If a person says that, in the name of Allah, I have trusted in Allah, there is no movement or power except by Allah's permission. Then it will be said that you have been guided. One who says that, you have been sufficed and protected. And the evil jinn, the evil forces around him, will turn to each other and say, how can we affect a man when he has been guided, sufficed, and protected? This is what the Prophet ﷺ informed us. He informed us of that world and what goes on inside of the world. This is not something that we can enter into, that we can extract and deduce knowledge about. He has informed us that this works. So we use it. Also, he said that when we enter a home, a person who does that should say, Allahumma inni as'aluka khayr al-mawlaj wa khayr al-makhraj. O Allah, indeed I ask you for good upon entering and exiting. Bismillahi walajna wa bismillahi kharajna wa ala Allahi rabbina tawakkalna. In the name of Allah we have entered, and in the name of Allah we have exited, and upon Allah our Lord we have depended. So this is amongst the sunan, or the ways which the Prophet ﷺ gave us for leaving and entering the home. Something we should do, since he has given it to us, and we're leaving our homes, we're coming in our homes on a regular basis. By doing that, in fact, we turn this simple act of walking out the house, coming in the house, into an act of worship. And when a person enters the home, as we have described according to the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said, if a man remembers Allah while entering his home and while eating, Satan says to his cohorts, there is neither shelter nor supper for you here. On the other hand, if he enters without remembering Allah, Satan says, you have found shelter. And if he doesn't remember Allah while eating, Satan says, you have found both shelter and supper. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has informed us about this. So, we utilize the basmala upon entering and exiting from our homes. Also, another phenomena in our lives is that of marriage. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us that when any of us gets married, we should say, Allahumma inni as'aluka khayraha, in relationship to our wives. O Allah, I ask you for the good that is in her. Wa khayra ma jabaltaha alayh, and the good that you have made a part of her nature. Wa a'udhu bika min sharriha wa min sharri ma jabaltaha alayh, and I seek refuge in you, O Allah, from the evil that may be in her and the evil which you have made a part of her character. So, again, one starts off marriage by calling on Allah, Allahumma inni as'aluka khayraha, asking Him for the good that is in her. Because it is for Him, it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow the good that is in our wives to benefit us and to make our lives better, to enhance the quality of our lives. It is for Him to do that. As well, He could just as well not allow the good that is with her to reach us. Instead, we find ourselves in constant turmoil. Our homes are, a source of argumentation, unpleasantness, and we don't even feel like going home. That could happen just as well. So we start our lives, our married lives, with this dua, asking Allah, Allahumma inni as'aluka khayraha. O Allah, I ask you for the good that is in her. And with that, dear viewers, we're going to close our program for this segment. We hope that the points that we have raised, especially in the area of exorcism, that these points have been grasped, because this is an area of trial for us. To stay with the Sunnah, to stay with what the Prophet ﷺ gave us. He showed us how to use Allah's names. Use them as He showed us, and we will gain the real benefit that is there for us. With that, dear viewers, I bid you farewell, hoping to see you again in our coming segments. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When you are weak and the road seems long, remember, just remember,